Look, I'd be lying if I said our culture today isn't drowning to death in a sea of radical materialism, but you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't have to burn all of your possessions and live on the street as a hobo in order to love God and make doing his will paramount in your life. Of course, Jesus lived a life of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And while you can never go wrong imitating the Lord, there's nothing defective with making a good living, as long as you realize that your prosperity is a gift from God and meant to serve his will, not your own. Jesus simply preached that money, wealth, and possessions are so very tempting and convoluted that a person can often get lost in them and forget the source of their good fortune. The Lord knew full well the weak human inclination toward greed and avarice. He understood that great wealth tends to warp the mind and pulls humanity away from its rightful vocation, which is pleasing God. Whenever I'm presented with this question, a certain story always comes to mind. Long ago, in the late 1800s, there was a great delicacy in the Far East, like caviar or escargot today. It was monkey brains. Don't ask me why. I can't imagine it. I'm just reporting the story. Anyway, the demand for this delicacy was so high that hunters flooded the Congo to collect as many monkeys as possible. But there was a catch. The recipe demanded that the monkeys be caught alive, kind of like lobsters today. This presented a problem for the hunters because shooting monkeys randomly out of the trees of the jungle was easy, but having to catch them alive proved to be a bit more difficult. Finally, the hunters figured it out. Quite ingenious, actually. What they did was they would take about 50 coconuts and they would drill small holes in each one, just big enough for a monkey to squeeze and wiggle his hand inside. The hunter would then lodge a toffee bar inside the coconut. Monkeys apparently love toffee bars. They would lay these booby-trapped coconuts on the floor of the jungle, and they'd go away for 2 or 3 days. Once they were gone, the monkeys would rush down to the coconuts. Smelling the toffee bar wedged inside, they would wiggle their paws through the hole and grab a hold of the toffee bar. Once they would do this, they could not pull their hand back out. They were trapped, stuck. The monkey would try and try desperately to free his hand, but to no avail. Soon the monkey would start to panic and swing his arms around violently, attempting to crack open the coconut by smashing it against the ground or a tree. But this would rarely work. In this condition, the monkey could not calm down. He was refused to eat, unable to sleep. After a day or two, out of sheer exhaustion, the monkey would simply fall to the ground of the jungle floor. The hunters would return, pick up the weakened monkey, barely alive, throw him in a cage, and be on their way. Now, here's the cruel truth of that story. At any point, all the monkey had to do was let go of the toffee bar, and it could have pulled its hand right out. But the animal was so blinded by his attachment and desire for the candy bar that removing his hand by letting go of what he wanted never even registered in his mind as a possible solution. Now, in this story, was the toffee bar the villain? Was it evil? No, of course not. But the monkey's unnatural desire for it and craving to keep it to himself clouded his vision and distorted his normal pattern of thinking. In much the same way, Jesus understood that wealth and material possessions could result in similar impairments in human beings, and the after effects could be just as deadly.